Hello there. So the Merseyside police are claiming that they were gagged from telling the rest of us the truth about the Axel Rudakabana case. Are they? How can a police force be gagged? Surely the only things that should prevent a police force giving out facts to the public would be the law as it stands or a court order. And to claim now that they were victims of gagging when they were one of those organisations that issued a gagging-style warning beggars belief. Here's their post on X from January the 16th, 4 days before the trial. The trial of Axel Rudakabana will begin on Monday the 20th of January, relating to the incident at Hart Street, Southport on the 29th of July 2024. We want to remind everyone that proceedings remain active throughout the entirety of the trial, and it is important that there is no sharing or posting of information online which could in any way prejudice the trial. Doing so may be in breach of the Contempt of Court Act and lead to prosecution by the Attorney General. Seems very strange coming from an organisation that now claims to have wanted to hand over details about the killer's religion and past criminal behaviour, doesn't it? And from the Prime Minister down, the whole government machine was saying, in unison, that no one must discuss anything to do with the trial in case it jeopardises what turned out to be a slam-dunk open and shut case. The Speaker of the House of Commons also directed MPs not to discuss the case in Parliament, presumably in case some MP who knew too much used parliamentary privilege to spill the beans. And those that lived in the vicinity did not find out that one of their young neighbours had been busying himself with making dangerous, in fact potentially lethal, chemical compounds until months later. That was presumably why the Merseyside Chief Constable Serena Kennedy was at such great pains to mention all the authorities involved in the ricin incident. And not just once either. This video is worth watching again. And remember, this was some 3 months after the incident.
Today, the Crown Prosecution Service has authorised Axel Rudakabana, aged 18, from Lancashire, to be charged with 2 further offences. Axel Rudakabana already faces 3 charges of murder, 10 charges of attempted murder, and 1 charge of possession of a knife, all relating to the incident at Hart Street on the 29th of July 2024. The 2 further offences relate to evidence obtained by Merseyside Police during searches of Axel Rudakabana's home address, as part of a lengthy and complex investigation which has been ongoing since the 29th of July. The additional charges are the production of a biological toxin, namely ricin, contrary to Section 1 of the Biological Weapons Act 1974, and possession of information, namely a PDF file entitled Military Studies in the Jihad Against the Tyrants, the Al-Qaeda Training Manual, likely to be useful to a person committing or preparing to commit an act of terrorism, contrary to Section 58 of the Terrorism Act 2000. Rudakabana will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court by video link tomorrow. Following announcement of further charges, today I want to reassure the communities of Southport and the communities of Merseyside that we are committed to getting justice for the families of Bibi, Elsie and Alice, the 10 victims who were injured at Hart Street and the other 16 people who were present on that day. We are also committed to being open and transparent with our communities. However, I am sure you will appreciate that we also need to make sure that we do not prejudice this trial. You may have seen speculation online that the police are deciding to keep information from the public. This is certainly not the case. We have been given extensive guidance by the Crown Prosecution Service in relation to what we can say publicly to ensure the integrity of the court proceedings are protected. and therefore we are restricted in what we can share with you now the proceedings are live. Following the events of Monday the 29th of July, searches of Axel Rudi Cabana's home address resulted in an unknown substance being found. Testing confirmed the substance as ricin. We have worked extensively with partners to establish that there was a low to very low risk to the public, and I want to make that reassurance clear today. I can also tell you that there was no ricin present at Hart Street. When ricin was discovered, all necessary steps were taken so that we could be sure that no one was at risk. This was a multi-agency response. Expert advice and guidance was received and adhered to throughout the investigation. In the days following, Merseyside Police worked extensively with our partners, including Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service, North West Ambulance Service, Sefton Council, West Lancashire Borough Council, Counter-Terrorism Policing North West, Counter-Terrorism Policing Headquarters, the UK Health Security Agency, the Crown Prosecution Service, NHS England, the National CBRN Centre, the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory and the Ministry of Defence to identify if there was any risk to victims, local communities and specialist professionals in attendance at Hart Street and Old School Close. At this point, it's particularly appropriate to recognise the support that we've had from our colleagues in the emergency services, local authorities and counter-terrorism policing. That support has included forensic experts and digital investigators, and that support has been in place since the initial stages of the investigation and continues. I want to reassure our communities that we will continue to work in partnership with all of our partners, and we are absolutely committed to keeping our communities safe. At this time, counter-terrorism policing has not declared the events of the 29th of July a terrorist incident. I recognise that these new charges may lead to speculation. The matter for which Axel Rudi Cabana has been charged under the Terrorism Act does not require motive to be established. For a matter to be declared as a terrorist incident, motivation would need to be established. I would strongly advise anyone against speculating as to the motivation in this case. The criminal proceedings against Axel Rudi Cabana are live, and he has a right to a fair trial. It is extremely important that there is no reporting, commentary or sharing of information online that could prejudice these proceedings. I want to remind everyone that the trial is scheduled for January next year. Since the 29th of July, my officers and staff have been working diligently in conjunction with colleagues from counter-terrorism, and they are continuing to assess evidential material which we have recovered to ensure all the evidence is available to the Crown Prosecution Service and the details of the case will come out in court. My plea is to be patient. Don't engage in rumour and speculation. Don't believe everything you read on social media. We must not lose sight of the families of Elsie, Bibi and Alice who are still grieving, and the families and those victims who were present at Hart Street on the 29th of July. We need to do the right thing to ensure that the justice process is not prejudiced. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Professor Tim Atkins, and I'm a Senior Scientific Advisor for the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, DSTL. DSTL is part of the Ministry of Defence, dedicated to delivering high-impact science and technology for both UK defence and homeland security. Our role is extremely wide-ranging, providing vital scientific support, not just to the armed forces, but also to the police and various other agencies in the event of a chemical or biological incident. That level of support ranges from deployed scientists attending incidents to analytical and testing support based at our laboratories at Porton Down in Wiltshire. Before going any further, and on behalf of everybody at DSTL, I'd like to express our deepest condolences to the families who've lost precious loved ones and to everyone suffering the consequences of this tragic incident. DSTL's role is to identify hazardous and deadly substances and to provide scientific advice and expertise. Firstly, so the police and law enforcement agencies can deliver justice, and secondly, to enable public health authorities to keep people safe, a role which is hugely important to everybody at DSTL. As a strategic national asset, we are unique in the United Kingdom, a sovereign capability that delivers sensitive science directly supporting protection of the public. Within DSTL is the chemical and biological response capability. This world-leading capability works routinely and directly with emergency response services, including the police, during an incident to ensure responders can identify and understand the dangers associated with highly hazardous chemicals and biological substances. From the outset, the full spectrum of DSTL's capabilities has been provided to Merseyside Police. This included scientific advisors, myself included, and supporting staff providing advice on the ground and at the Joint Command Group in Liverpool. It also included unrestricted access to our analysis laboratories at Porton Down, where a team of scientists undertook detailed examination of the items from this incident to identify the presence of the toxin ricin. At all stages of the incident, DSTL have worked closely with Merseyside Police with the priority that people were kept safe and to allow the police to respond and investigate as quickly as possible. Finally, I'd like to thank the DSTL scientists for their tireless work in supporting Merseyside Police during this tragic incident and for their dedication to ensuring public and responder safety throughout the United Kingdom. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Renu Bindra. I'm a Senior Medical Advisor at the UK Health Security Agency, and my role includes working with partners from multiple agencies, including the police and the NHS, to assess the risk to the public's health from a wide range of threats and to provide specialist advice. Early in August, we were informed by the police that ricin, a very toxic poison, had been found in the suspect's home. Following this, our agency's experts in health protection and in chemicals, poisons and toxicology immediately undertook a thorough public health risk assessment. This was based on the available evidence and information we received from the police, from DSTL and from the NHS. This information confirmed that there was no evidence that any victims, responders, or members of the public were exposed to ricin, either as part of the incident or afterwards. Our detailed initial risk assessment judged that the risk to the community and to the wider public was low. As always, when responding to possible health threats, we keep our public health risk assessments under close review. As the police investigation developed, our ongoing assessment was that the risk to the public had reduced even further. I appreciate that this information may be concerning. However, I would like to emphasize that there has been no evidence of ricin poisoning in anyone involved in or connected to this incident. Ricin is not infectious between people, and the risk to the wider public based on the information available has always been low. Most people who have ricin poisoning will develop symptoms within 24 hours, with some symptoms starting even earlier. It is very unlikely that symptoms will start after more than 3 days. Finally, I would like to offer my heartfelt condolences to all those affected by the incident. And our thoughts remain with the families, the local community, and all those who supported the response. Thank you.
And now we know how much else they were holding back. And already, back then, the police were basically saying they knew a lot more about the case, but the CPS was holding them back. All in preparation for circling the wagons when the fallout came, perhaps? Also, had it been any other type of chemical problem, I'm sure the police would have gone from door to door to advise and reassure those in the vicinity. But not, it appears to me, for this particular case. Now, one of the functions of the CPS is to advise the police. But in the early stages of investigations, I would say that sending out a CPS supporting gagging tweet 4 days prior to the court case is far from the early days of the investigations. But maybe that's just me. And now we'll see Axel Rudakabana getting sentenced tomorrow, claims of justice done, and the task of burying the case and any uncomfortable ramifications, such as from those they locked up for hurty words, will begin. Let's see how many MPs grill the Prime Minister on this matter today at lunchtime's PMQs.